He's committed to ending homelessness, as everybody knows. He's against defunding the police, and he's all for safety for all of our families. Isn't that what we all want from our mayor? Anyway, I'm proud to introduce my friend of a long, long time, Rick Caruso.
Thank you, Cindy. Thank you, Dennis. Everybody can hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. I won't talk too long, I promise, but I do want to share a couple of things. I really appreciate all of you being here. My next stop, we're going down to, and I'm all over the city. I mean, campaigning is good, crazy stuff. Let me just start with that, because you get an opportunity to go to so many places that you usually either just drive by or maybe you would never get there. There's so many incredible corners in this city of ours that are fantastic. And there's so many incredible people. All diversity, all different backgrounds and ethnicities, with great pride for their community and great hope. They need help, but they have great hope. So I do about 6 or 7 events a day, but I'm loving it. And we're down to the stretch. I think we got 24 days left, but who's counting? So, but my next stop is going down to South LA to a school called St. Lawrence. And it's a Catholic school in probably one of the areas of Los Angeles that has the highest crime and the most violence. There's a program that Tina and I, my wife and I, have been involved with for many, many years called Operation Progress. And Operation Progress teams up an officer from LAPD with a child who's living in the projects. Nickerson Gardens, Imperial Gardens, whatever they may be. The families are usually at or below the poverty line. So this is a parent that's maybe making $20,000 to $30,000 a year. Very, very tough circumstances and riddled with crime in these projects. But what happens is the officer gains respect for the community they're serving, and the child understands the officer, and then that officer also mentors that child all the way through school. And we take that child from 3rd grade all the way through college, and we provide scholarships for them. It's an amazing program. We now have kids that have started in Nickerson Gardens sleeping on the floor at night. They have to, because of bullets coming through the window. Now at MIT, Harvard, Columbia. One young lady that works for the campaign, Jennifer Alvarado, who's an amazing young lady, went to St. Lawrence, then St. Mary's, then on to Boston College at a full scholarship. Now she's at USC on a full scholarship, getting her master's degree. It's a great story. So we're going to go down there and meet and talk to a lot of the families again. But what I'm also doing is calling out my opponent. If you saw the LA Times today, once again, we've got more corruption. Did you see the story? Yeah. On the KNX debate that I did last week, we had an NBC one this week, KNX was last week. The journalist said, why don't you provide the application that you say you have to USC and the scholarship? Because the federal court, the prosecutors, have named her as a critical figure. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't want to ever be named as a critical figure in a federal corruption case. Right? And she continues to say, you know, everything was up and up. And I said to her in the debate, you didn't apply, you didn't report it for 6 years. Listen, we're all successful people here. If somebody gave us $95,000, we'd remember it, right? She said she forgot to do it. And then you push legislation through Congress to have federal tax dollars go back to the School of Social Work. That's a quid pro quo. And so when KNX kept pushing her, she said, I'll show you my application. How many people here went to college? Did anybody's application, was it 1 page? That's what she posted. Go on KNX's website. 1 page, unsigned, right? She never applied. And actually the date she put on that is she started classes before she got the scholarship. This is where, when you start trying to remember all of your lies, you start stepping in them. And listen, I don't care how well-intended Karen is, and I've known her for 20 years. The system is just broken. We saw that a couple of days ago with 3 leaders of the city council in a back room carving up our city, trying to hurt the black community, trying to gain favor in the Latino community, and then using every racial slur they could against Jewish, homophobic, the black community. It's crazy. The system is broken and there's corruption riddled through it. And I'm sorry, Karen's a part of that. And you can't, as a mayor, or have a mayor, step into office under a cloud of corruption. Maybe she's completely innocent. I don't know. That's for the federal prosecutors to decide. But what I do know is she's named in a federal corruption case. We've got too many problems in the city right now. And I'll just run through them real quick. 44,000 people living on the street. What most people don't realize is tonight, 13,000 women will go to sleep on the streets. If you go to the Downtown Women's Center, they treat 5,000 women a year. They told me every night the majority of the women on the streets will be assaulted and raped. It's disgusting what our elected officials have allowed. Under Karen's leadership, she's represented the city for 20 years, homelessness has gone up 80%. Crime is at an all-time high. Murders are up 50%. We have more people shot than in recent history. So far this year, 1,400 people are shot. About 3 to 4 every single day. Because of defunding and being demoralized, we're 800 officers short in the city of Los Angeles. 800. The fire department has the same amount of people today that it did in 1965. Yet the amount of incidents are 10 times. It's just the mismanagement. If any of you operated your businesses, your families, whatever, your charities, like the city's been operating, you'd go out of business. But to Dennis's point, they do keep changing the size of the plate, so it works. Nobody's accountable. A lot of excuses. I am more motivated than ever, as crazy as it may be, to do this job because the opportunity to fix it is clear to me. There is a path to fixing the homelessness and not allowing the encampments. There are programs that are working. Programs that are working need more funding and expanded. We need to build housing. We need to build shelters. If you go to People's Concern downtown, and there's one here in Santa Monica, I think they have 7 locations. They take people in, they give them the services that they need. They do it with dignity and humanity and care, psychiatric care, mental health care, physical care, drug addiction care. You know what their success rate is? 94%. 94% of those they treat do not fall back into homelessness. I'll take 94%. I think you guys would take 94%. So nobody can tell me it can't be fixed, but People's Concern has been trying to build more apartments for the homeless in Skid Row for 6 years. 6 years. That should be fast-tracked, right? So the system's upside down. The system is fixable. I'm eager to do it. I'm happy to do it. I love this city, you know, and God bless my grandparents. They were immigrants like so many of us. Came to this country, they didn't have a dime in their pocket, they didn't know the language. They settled in Boyle Heights. My grandfather was a gardener. I learned about this city from riding around with him. And I just think everybody in this city should have a fair shot at their American dream. My God, I've had mine. Beyond belief. I've been abundantly blessed. My family's been abundantly blessed. Right? So it's time to get back, and that's why I'm doing it. I've served under 3 mayors, Tom Bradley, Dick Reardon, and Jim Hahn. And I've loved serving this city. I'm going to do it for $1 a year. And I'm going to close with this. I know I get criticized for spending a lot of money on this campaign, but I haven't had 20 years in office. And I remind everybody that when I announced, only 5% of the people knew who I was. 30% knew who Karen was. She's been in office 20 years. It's a big city, big media. It's expensive to get a message out. right? You know that, we were just talking about that. So I had to spend the money. But what it's given to me is the best gift. I'm beholden to nobody. I'm not taking any money from lobbyists. I don't have a special PAC like she does, raising money in Washington. So I get to go in office day one. I get to sit down at the desk with my list of things to do, beholden to nobody other than the residents of Los Angeles, and be able to say, I'm just going to do what is in the best interest. Not what's politically correct, right? BS that we're dealing with. And here's what I need from you. We just got our recent polls. We are right on top of each other. Right on top of each other. If there's ever a time where every vote counts, boy, this is it. And I feel now like I'm not running against Karen as I'm running against apathy. And if people don't vote, I lose. If my supporters vote, I got it. That's just pure math that we have. And it really will take each one of you, not only voting, posting on Instagram multiple times up until the 8th, because everybody's got their ballots, but also getting 10 friends to call 10 friends, right? It's that old-fashioned chain. And we have friends that are doing voting and vino parties, inviting 20 people over, everybody votes together and goes to the mailbox together and puts them in, sort of signifying taking back our city. Whatever you can do to get out the votes, that's what's going to be meaningful to me, and that's what's going to make a difference. So with that, Dennis, Cindy, thank you again. I want to open it up if people have questions, or I can be quiet and let you have your lunch, whatever you want, but thank you for being here. Yes, I'm sorry. My co-host, where's my co-host?
Oh, right here.
There you are. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're
I
welcome.
appreciate it, John. Thank you for that. Okay, any questions? Do we have a mic for anybody? No, go ahead.
I'll start. State of California, city.
I'll yell, you.
The state of California in particular, and the city as well, is so far pushed to the left. The balance of power, of having Republicans, Democrats share, is not going on in Sacramento. And here in the city, it seems to be the same. You're a centrist, if I understand your position. And how do we get more centrists in this state so we can stop some of the awful attacks against business owners and in general? It's just so far to the left now, it's difficult to see the center.
Yeah. This is going to sound self-serving, but it's true. Get me elected. Because the belief is that anybody in the center can't get elected. And that's why Karen wants to make this about identity politics and not about issues. If you've seen any of the debates, when she gets into the issues, she gets lost. Like the other night on the NBC debate, she's talking about she can fix homelessness. Well, first of all, you had 20 years, right? Why didn't you do anything? But then they brought up on the screen Estelle Lopez to ask a question. If you're going to be a student of how to fix homelessness, you've spent time with Estelle. Goes Estelle or Estella, goes by both. She is the president of the BID that oversees all of Skid Row. And when she came up, then Karen says, well, I'll talk to her, work with her, and get that encampment out in front of her business. And I said, no, Karen, she represents the whole district, right? You need to know. And so hopefully I win this. We start talking about issues. It's going to open the door for more people down the middle to say, you know what, there's an opportunity for me to win. But right now, to your point, the odds are so against you, and that's what Karen's trying to do. He used to be Republican. You can't trust him. You know, she also says, I'm against abortion. I have never been against abortion. I have always been pro-choice. That's a personal choice of somebody. Like, my wife gets so livid about hearing those attacks, right? Because I'm Catholic, all of a sudden I'm supposed to be not pro-choice? It's just not right, right? But Joe Biden is Catholic and pro-choice. I was on the phone yesterday with Jerry Brown. He was in a seminary, and he's pro-choice, right? So we gotta get past the attacks and try to put these smoke screens out there and get to the issue. But it's a long answer to a short question, but I think we can make it. Any other questions? Yes, sir. Yep. Oh, there you go. Okay. Thank you, Cindy.
Yeah.
I'm standing back there to be in the shade.
Hello. 1, 2, 1, 2. The moratorium is about to expire. I think
Yeah.
one of you guys take office, the landlords, future landlords, are really bind because of the moratorium.
Yep.
Do you have any plan in order to, I guess, to assist both ways? The tenants who have been evicted, which if the tenants get evicted, the homelessness increases. But then the moms and pops landlords who are not getting paid and they have mortgages with the banks, they're also suffering. So do you have a plan
Yep.
once you get in the office in terms of balancing the tenants and for us the landlords who might go bankrupt or our credit's messed up because the tenants are not paying rent?
No, I get the issue because I have apartments also, and obviously I was drastically affected by the pandemic, but thank God we came through it. But the small business landlords are really getting hurt, and there's got to be a balance. And you don't want to push more people into homelessness, but they crafted this law where you don't have to prove a need. So somebody can claim I can't afford to pay your rent, and they just don't pay your rent, right? So my plan is you have to show need. It's for a limited period of time, but we can't be asking private enterprise to do the job of what the city should be doing and stepping in, and the state should be doing and stepping in, right? And I'll just give you an example how we can quickly help this. I don't know if you read this or not in the LA Times. LA City, I think it was last week or the week before, sent back $150 million to the federal government because they couldn't figure out how to use it. $150 million. LA City has sent back more money to the federal government than they've used. And then you hear from Karen, I'm a powerful congresswoman, I'm gonna use my connections to solve problems. I said, Karen, why didn't you solve that problem? Why didn't you figure out a way to unbundle all the regulations on that $150 million that it was used? So we just gotta start being smart about it. That's why I don't wanna minimize the problems, but I'm not smart enough to solve complex problems. So I try to break them down into smaller problems and then solve them one at a time. And it starts with having really good people in the mayor's office that are smart and just dedicated to public service. And just like I said before, just be guided by doing the right thing, but don't give money back. I would have kept the $150 million and said, federal government, we're gonna start using it, and if we use it in violation of your silly regulations, but we're helping people from dying, great, sue me. But let's not put silly regulations on these things. So there's a whole bunch of things we gotta do. Any other questions? Okay.
So my wife, can you hear me?
Yeah.
So my wife and I have lived down the Venice canals for about the last 30 years. And we've seen what was our nice funky beach community turn into essentially Skid Row West.
Yeah.
And the only solutions that seem to be proposed is to build, $1 million per unit housing development on what is now the parking lot where people from LA can come and go to the beach, or to overpay for a hotel somewhere. What kind of plans do you have to address that particular situation?
I was just down in Venice the other day with a lot of the neighbors down there walking Venice again. It's so tragic what's happened down there. But it's happened all across the city, but it's tragic. So here's the homeless plan in a nutshell. You go to carusocan.com, there's a whole detailed plan on homelessness, policing, affordability. Affordability is a huge problem in LA. You can look at all of my plans. And Karen's adopted this first part, which is fine. You have to call the state of emergency day one. Because right now, every council district solves the problem differently. You just can't solve problems that way. Two is, we start building 30,000 shelter beds. You have to get people off the street. what every study on homelessness shows is if you treat people on the street, you just have a cycle, right? And if you just think about it, the most basic term, if you had a heart attack and you're on the street, nobody would say, well, just wait right there and I'll get a doctor and come and help you, right? So you bring people in, you do it with dignity, humanity, and great care. You give them the services. I have a program that will have 500 new caseworkers to help with that. When I was the president of the police commission, Bill Bratton and I put together what were called dream cars. It was an officer with a caseworker that helped people. And then you very quickly start building housing. But here's one way to do it. You gotta be innovative and you gotta cut through the red tape. But I wouldn't allow any more encampments. The minute we have beds, no more encampments. You're off the street. And you gotta start enforcing the drug laws, because right now, it's a free sale of drugs on the street. As you know, you have drug lord tents throughout the city that are selling drugs, and there's no intervention by the police. There's a company I heard of called Boxable. I don't know if you've heard of this. If you haven't heard of it, you should Google it. Boxbl. I flew up to Vegas where their factory is. I was so intrigued by it. If I wasn't running for mayor, I'd invest in it. It's a young guy, super motivated guy. He's building a 200 square foot unit. He actually has it hinged in the middle in order to shrink it for shipping so it doesn't have to be a wide load. It reduces his shipping cost by 10 times. Very smart. He's building one every 90 minutes. He's got an assembly line. And I'm walking with him. This guy was great. And he said, I'm going to be the biggest company in America. I said, okay, give me the plan. He said, I will have this down to 1 unit a minute. I go, that is wild. He's starting to sell to the Defense Department. They've got a little living room, bedroom, kitchen, bathroom, nice big windows, really nice, right? I said, I'll make you a deal when I'm mayor. I'll buy 44,000 of them. They're selling for 60,000 a unit. LA is building units for 700,000 a unit. Is this crazy? That's your money. You all agreed to get taxed $1.1 billion. And did you hear Karen Bass the other night again on Channel 4? They said, will you take a pledge to me to not raise taxes to solve problems? I said, yes, I will. Karen said, no, I won't. I said, okay, you're raising taxes. That's what's coming. You wait and see. And she danced around it once that came out of her mouth, but it was out there. So what I want to do, and then what I said to this guy is I said, I'll make you a deal. I'll buy the units. You build the factory in LA where we need jobs, like in South LA, and then we'll create jobs, we'll create enterprise, we'll start a movement of manufacturing in areas of the city, and then I'll buy the units. He said, great, I'm in. I'm bringing a unit out here next week. I want everybody to see that there is hope and there is a solution, right? And you can walk through it. We're going to move it around the city. Anyway, that's what Sorry you guys are sitting in the sun. That's why I'm sneaking back here. I know.
You're running out of space. The sun's
Is there any
burning.
way, like, we talk about Boxable, and there's other companies that do this.
Yeah.
But once it gets to the, LA, DBS, Department of Building and Safety, all that innovation goes out the window.
Right.
You got to print paper and this, and then it totally just stalls the whole innovation process of building units. You have any plans to streamline that? I mean,
Yeah. Well, the good news is a lot of people talk about that the mayor doesn't have a lot of authority, you can't get a lot of things done. You'd always want to have more authority. But the reality is, first of all, I've been processing permits in the city of Los Angeles for 40 years. So I understand the problems,
Yeah.
right? I understand how bad it's gotten, I know how to build. But every one of those general managers will report to me directly. And there's going to be a culture change. You're going to wake up in the morning and you're serving the public and you work to yes. In my company, the answer is yes. Now let's figure out how to get there. Right? It's never no. And so I'm going to have to change culture. And if people don't change, they're gone. And then people will say, just to bring this full circle, well, you got civil service, you can't fire people. The trick I did when I was the president of the police commission, I reassigned people that didn't buy into the program. And if you didn't buy in, you were off someplace in the hinterlands. And that's perfectly legal. But we dropped crime by 30%. Brad and I got crime down 20 years ago. We got crime down to levels not seen since 1950. And we hired 800 officers. And we brought in community policing and senior lead officers that actually walked the beat and knew the neighborhood, knew the store owners, gave out their cell phone. That's how you prevent crime, is police presence, right? And then the bad actors go somewhere else to go do their bad thing. Yes, sir.
But to that point, like, I'm sold, I would vote for you over and over again if I could. Karen Bass is an idiot. My question is with, accountability and crime, how do you get rid of I'm not from here, Gaston?
Oh, yeah.
Because without accountability, it's just gonna keep escalating.
Yeah, Gascon's a real problem. There's no doubt about it. He comes up, it's unfortunate the recall didn't go through. He comes back up in 2 years. The city attorney can actually prosecute, and hasn't been, misdemeanors. And misdemeanors are pretty broad. So even domestic abuse in the city of LA is a misdemeanor. And you bring up a really good point. Everything on this ballot is important now. So the leading candidate for city attorney is a gentleman named Fazil Gill, endorsed by Karen Bass, does not want officers on the street, is against gay marriage, and said, I will not prosecute misdemeanors for the first 100 days. Why? He's a problem. Mejia, who's running for controller, the leading candidate, said, I will not cut payroll checks for the police. These people are insane. Now more than ever, you need to have a mayor that's saying, you're not doing that, and calling them out. It's gonna be an interesting job. But on violent crime, what I would do, and other cities have done that have had problems with their district attorneys, is take it on a federal route and allow federal charges. This poor young girl that was, stabbed brutally on La Brea about a year ago, who our family, my daughter knew, couldn't have been more tragic, right? That should have been a federal crime and put that person away forever. Well, I should let you have lunch and enjoy yourself. I'm so grateful to Dennis and Cindy and Tony and all of you for being here. If I could mention to you, we have an app. I would ask Vince to explain it better because I have the technology intel of a gnat. So I will not be the chief technology officer of LA City, that's for sure.
I could actually airdrop it to everybody.
Yeah, so what this does, you can airdrop it, you can look at it, it's actually really cool. It takes your contact list, we don't get it, we don't have visibility in your contact list, but it compares it with the voter file. So it will let you know of everybody in your contact list who's registered to vote in LA, and then you can send a message. So you don't have to scroll through and find people. It's a really cool app that my team developed. Did I explain it right?
Yep, sounds good.
And what I would ask you to do is not message once or twice, message like every other day. Because I was horrified and laughing with my wife late last night when I got home. I said, could you imagine if I lose by 10 votes? I mean, it would just, that would be like the worst thing. I either want to lose by a big amount or whatever. No, I don't want to lose by a big amount. I don't want to lose at all. But anyway, thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity. Have a great day. Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Cindy.